Fall asleep on the job. So if you haven't done it yet, please fill out one of these basically messages to Garbarino. It shows him what's in the bill. You should know it's 1,000 pages. I don't think any of them read it. But we're talking about cuts to Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP. We're talking about tax breaks for
the rich.
silencers. No, they're giving the tax breaks for silencers. This is Haley brought this up. I was like, that's insane, right? And then there's going to be over $4.5 trillion to ultra wealthy. And Garbarino and Laloda talked about how they wanted to raise the salt cap. But let me tell you something. If they just let the Trump tax cuts from 2017 die, the salt cap would have just died with it. And they wouldn't have to do all this bartering for Medicaid and Medicare cuts. So we could have had our salt cap go up automatically. But instead, we've got this big expletive bullshit bill that is going to harm millions of Americans and New Yorkers. It's going to create a $13 billion deficit in New York State's budget annually. When we talk about cuts to Medicare, everybody watch out, car. Stay out of the street if you can.
Absolutely had to pick that.
Yes, right.
So, well, you know,
There's
got
one
business,
right
he's
over
gonna
there,
find out he's
space
not gonna be able to get in because they locked the door. Oh, perfect. He's gonna play lullabies. So,
Aren't much.
it's getting hot out here. I want to speed this up. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask everyone to take out their phone and set your alarm for 12:30. Because that's when we're going to wake up. So make sure your phone's up. We can hear it. And we want to simultaneously all have our alarms go off at 12:30. And then 12:23, we got time. Don't worry, we won't take that long of a nap. So about 12:28, we're gonna go to sleep, right? So I know the concrete might be hot. You can stand and sleep. You can rest against each other. You can lay down on the floor. We've got pillows. Pillows we're gonna deliver to Garbarino. Take a nap, and then at 12:30, we're gonna wake up. And then I want you to tell me what you dreamed, or maybe nightmares about when you fell asleep. Yeah.
I left my pajamas at home.
That's all right. We got pillows and everything. What we're going to do is I'm going to ask each one of you to read about your dream or nightmare and
I love you too.
tell us what's in the bill. So I'm going to ask you, whoever can step up and tell us about how your nap went. And we want to let Garbarino know what's in the bill because, again, I don't know if he ever read the bill because he probably slept through it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to make sure he knows what's in the bill and that he needs to vote no when it comes back to the House. Everyone got that?
Yes.
12:30 alarm, 12:28, we're going to go to sleep. 12:30 we wake up. All right.
Hands off medical research!
Hands off medical research!
Hands off SNAP!
Hands off SNAP!
Hands off our democracy!
Hands off our democracy!
Hands off our democracy!
Hands off our democracy!
Hands off Social Security!
Hands off Social Security!
Hands off Social Security!
Hands off Social Security!
Hands off Medicaid!
Hands off Medicaid!
I'm gonna pause. We're gonna come back to this. Between now and then, we return to my other role.
Good night.
Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
democracy, wake up!
Wake up, Andrew!
Wake up, Andrew!
Open the door!
Open the door!
Wake up, Andrew!
Wake up, Andrew!
Open the door!
Open the door!
Wake up, Andrew!
Wake up, Andrew!
Open the door!
Open the door!
Wake up, Andrew!
Wake up, Andrew!
I had a nightmare about the big, terrible bill. It's going to empty stomachs for millions of kids and seniors thanks to the largest cuts to food assistance in U.S. history. And I have a nightmare about Section 70302 hidden in the bill, restriction of enforcement. It will gut the federal court's ability to enforce contempt orders and require plaintiffs to post enormous financial bonds, restricting justice, if you want to call it justice, to millionaires and billionaires.
Who's next?
What's up?
I had a dream, actually a nightmare, that one day we would actually have gay rights back and they would stop picking on the trans community and give children the health care that they need. I also had a nightmare about this bill because it could take away my Medicaid, which I need to survive and to live. So wake up, Andrew. It's time to wake up and do your job. We're tired of watching you sit back and do nothing for anybody in your constituency.
Hi. I've had this recurring nightmare that started back in November. But it seems to be centering on the 10,000 new ICE agents, which I see constantly on my television, and sent me to bed with yet another new nightmare. Because I see friends and family and people I don't know that aren't friends and family that I'm so frightened for that are being strong-armed by these people in masks. Why are they wearing masks? And they're terrifying everybody. And these people are just being swept away and we never hear from them again. This is my current nightmare, and I know people who are afraid, very afraid, kind, good people, mothers of children who are so afraid that their children are going to be taken away from them while they're swept off into a country that they never even heard of. So that's my current nightmare, and I'm going to read what's on here. 10,000 new ICE agents at a time the agency is arresting political opponents, defying court orders, and deporting U.S. citizens. This terrifies me. Everything else here terrifies me as well, but that hits home more than anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my nightmare is this. I live in a country which values everyone equally, supposedly, but this bill takes wealth from the lowest 80% and redistributes it to the top 10% of this country. I'm not in the top 10%. I don't know about you. I'm not a billionaire. I won't get the benefit of this bill. We need to protect our poor, our immigrants, people of color, not just the billionaires. Stop this bill, Andrew. Wake up and do your job.
Yeah!
Does this work? I actually had a dream. My dream is that I would stop waking up in the morning with this sickening feeling in my stomach, wondering what horrible thing is going to befall us next. It seems that every day something worse happens than the day before. It's just inconceivable. My nightmare is what's happening right now, that children and seniors and people with disabilities will lose their Medicaid coverage, will lose their SNAP coverage, will go hungry. I mean, we're going to have a disaster situation on Long Island. In this constituency, in CD2, which Andrew Garbarino was responsible for. Do your damn job, listen to your constituents. Do something other than speak through the vote. Thank you.
I'm tired all the time because I don't sleep well at night. And then I wake up in the morning and I read Heather Cox Richardson, God bless her soul, and she tells me terrible stories and it freaks me out, and I hate that. I hate that people seem to be driving on the road and really kind of honestly mean to each other. There's a lot of tension, and I can't stand that we're being pitted against each other. I hate that too. I have a nightmare about healthcare, about New York State getting Medicaid caps, right? They're going to cap Medicaid block grants, and if they do that, the governor is going to have some really hard decisions to make, because guess what? She's probably not going to close nursing homes, but she's going to shift other services that all of us use to pay for the caps on Medicaid. And of course, the children's CHIP plans, we're going to have kids that are going to be sick, and the emergency rooms are going to be overrun. And some of these hospitals are close to bankruptcy already. So Medicaid cuts are going to mean less services for all of us. Thank you.
I had a nightmare that children were forced to go to bed hungry and that trans people were denied their access to health care and to gender-affirming surgery. I had a nightmare that immigrants, trans people, and children were denied their access to bodily autonomy, and that elected officials are actively trying to harm people that they were elected to protect.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm still having a continuing nightmare from the last Trump term that I'm sure you're all having too, which is when children were separated, ripped babies, infants ripped away from their mother's arms. Some of them have still not been in return. Hundreds and hundreds have still not been returned. So I have never really woken up from that nightmare, but now I'm having a continuing nightmare. I know, I like history, I watch a lot of documentaries, so I know that all over the world when governments start sending out masked men to just grab people off the streets with no due process, no rights, and nobody knows where they are, people can't find them, they're locking congresspeople out of, congresspeople who actually do care and show up for their jobs, they're locking them out of ICE facilities so they can't see what's going on, telling them that they have to let people know 72 hours before, which we all know then they can just clean things up and give people food and get rid of overcrowded situations because they know people are coming. So I have a nightmare that if we don't all stand up, first of all, it's unethical and heartbreaking that it's happening to people right now, people in our communities and our neighbors in this district, and no one should feel safe because when governments start sending out masked men to grab people away from their families, it never stops with one group. We all know that old poem. It just keeps going. And my other nightmare as a mom and a former teacher is that absolutely if Congressman Garbarino votes for this bill when it comes back to the House and it's not stopped, there will be children in this district and all over this country that will go to bed hungry without SNAP assistance, that will go to bed sick because their families lose Medicaid, and if their parents are sick, they can't take care of their children either. So that's one of many nightmares of mine.
Thank you.
Okay, I am living my nightmare this minute. My nightmare is that we are preaching to the choir. I doubt there's a person here who didn't agree with what was just said. Yes, all of that is nightmarish, but the people who need to hear that are not listening. And the reason is they don't think that any of this is going to hurt them. We don't talk about small things that will hurt them. They are the ones who voted to get rid of every brown-skinned person in this country. They are the ones who voted to say, hey, parents are responsible for feeding their kids. If they can't do that, then they're bad parents. These are people who don't effing care because it's not going to hurt them, they think. There are a lot of small things that people don't realize will hurt them. Get rid of Medicaid. Go right ahead. It doesn't hurt me. Well, raise your hand if you think your school taxes are high already. Okay? Do you know that every counseling session, every speech therapy session, every occupational therapy session, and every physical therapy session, among other things I probably don't know about, are paid for by Medicaid. Because if your child has an IEP and they go to a CSE, they hand you a blank piece of paper and say, sign this so that we can access your child's Medicaid. You get permission because people they just want to get what they need for their kid. And it's not anything terrible. Medicaid can pay for these things. But imagine if there's no Medicaid and all of those things that the kids still need in the millions have to be paid for out of your pocket. The middle class people or whatever class people who think none of this is going to hurt them, they have to hear stuff like that. Or other things. Okay, grandma needs to go to the nursing home. Nursing homes are paid for, everybody here does. People is thinking this way. If you have to use your inheritance to pay for grandma, that's going to hurt. So I wish we could figure out a way to get through to the people who are still loyal to these rats. If I were in public, I would probably use much worse language. But I need to figure out a way to get through to people. And so far, their doors are not being broken down. And so when they
Their doors are locked. Their doors are locked.
Yeah, right. I mean, literally, our Constitution is being violated every single day of our lives.
Thank you.
And I am old enough to remember the Red Scare. I was a tiny little girl during the Red Scare, prior to kindergarten or in kindergarten. And my grandparents were immigrants from Russia. They left under the Tsar. They knew nothing about communism. But I'd walk home from school every day. The little kids would be calling me a commie. I was fucking 5 years old. And I knew about it because my parents were forced to explain it to me. And
All right.
Giving away $20 billion in school vouchers. That is taking away money from public education, and that is a nightmare, and it is not okay.